What's up, world? It's your man Cal Quigley the Fourth, and I had a few requests from people because they wanted to know more about the IUL. And so, what I plan to do today is, just take people through a few of the informative ways that you can learn about IULs and the information that you need to know to kind of get it started. So, I'm going to share my screen. Give me 1 second here. And of course, it never wants to work right when you're trying to show it, but we gonna we gonna get this thing right. Here we go. Okay, so hopefully everybody can see my screen well. So our motto here is no family left behind. And the reason why we say that is because it has been traditional in the Black and Brown community that financial literacy wasn't really shared. More so, financial empowerment wasn't really shared. But we're in a new age, and we're going to forget about what was, and we're going to focus on what is. And so that's what we're really all about when it comes to the motto of our company. And so our company is called Quantum Prosperous. We're in connection with two major companies, one being Transamerica. Most people recognize the huge building there in San Francisco, but they've been in the financial services industry for over 100 years. The company to the left, Aegon, is the headquarters for Transamerica. That's actually in the Netherlands. Now, Aegon is where the banks put their money. So we're not talking about some fly by night, here today, gone tomorrow type company. We're talking about major company, over $500 billion in assets, and it's been around since 1844. So when people always ask me about the guarantees that I say, I always tell them if these two things go under, it doesn't much matter anyway. Everything else is, not far behind it. So those are the companies, and that shows the strength and credibility that we have as our company in connection with them. And so I always ask the five magic questions before I really get into this thing because I want people to think about their financial future. So the first question I have is, at what age do you want to retire? Now, some people may say 65, 75. It's really going to be what you want. For me, it's 55. So I have 10 more years to do what I'm going to do, and then I'm out. The second question is, how much money would you like to have saved total when you do retire? Is it 10 million? Is it 20 million? Is it 30 million? Those numbers are going to help us decide what your IUL, how your IUL should be structured, because ultimately everyone has different plans when it comes to retirement. My wife and I, we want to travel the world. We want to, sail across the oceans. Those are the kinds of things that we like to do. Some people may want to just garden and hang out with their grandkids. So it's really going to be personal again when it comes to your financial future. How much income per month would you like to live on for the rest of your life? So you essentially take that big number you have and then break it down by the number of months that you believe, God is giving you to live on this earth post retirement. What are some of your goals and dreams in retirement? Again, what is it that you want to do with the remaining years on this earth? Do you want to start a nonprofit organization so you can help individuals from a community like where you came from? Do you want to go overseas and start a lime farm? Like, it could be anything, right? And then lastly, if I could show you how to achieve those goals, is this something for you and your family that you would at least want to see? Do you want to see that it exists? And hopefully that answer is yes. So when we talk about money, there's a few things you want to know about. The most important thing is tax. So when it comes to tax, how your money is taxed, you have taxable, you have tax deferred, and then you have tax advantage, also called tax free. And that's what we're going to talk about today with the IUL. So if you're anything like me, then you understand that the banking concept wasn't necessarily built for our community, right? So when we think about the banking concept, most of us are taught get a job, stay on that job, get a 401k, retire off of, a quarter of what you could barely live off of when you were working full time. And that's what we do. So get a good job, get a bank account, and hope that everything works out. Most bank accounts are going to be earning less than 1% per year. So I don't know about you, but inflation's at around 7 to 9%, realistically more like 10 to 12%. And so if I'm only making 1% or even less than 1% of my money, it's actually decaying by me just leaving it in the bank. So the whole idea behind the banking concept is we want to help you get your money from simply going into the bank to going where the banks put their money. See, these third party companies that we have contracts with that I just mentioned to you, Transamerica, Pacific Life, Nationwide, Franklin Templeton, I mean, the list goes on and on and on. We have about 60 companies that we work with. That's where the banks actually put their money. And when I say their money, I'm really talking about your money. So on average, the banks are earning about 6 to 12% by simply putting their money into these third party companies. But the whole idea behind what we do is what if we could bypass the bank and put your money into those third party companies? And so now you're able to leverage your money for you. So I'll stop right there for a second. Who's ever explained the concept of banking to you that way, right? Not most people have ever heard it put that way. And then this is another thing. Think about it. If the bank has your money and then you go to the bank to actually, get a loan to buy a house or a car or whatever, they're actually taxing you twice because they're taxing you on the money that you put in the bank, right? So they're taxing you on your money plus earning 6 to 12% on the back end. So, yeah, we can't let that continue to happen, right? So that's where the IUL comes in place. We like to call the IUL the financial pocket knife because it does so many things. So there's two sides to it. You have the protection side, and then you have the saving slash investing side. But let me show you the protection side first so you can get an idea of what the IUL is capable of doing. So first thing is it gives you permanent life insurance up to the age of 121. Yep, 121. I don't know about you, but I don't know anybody in my family that's lived to 121. That would be nice if I had all of my faculties with me, right? But this covers you all the way for the rest of your life. Now, most people have life insurance through their jobs, or maybe if they were in the military or something like that, right? But what happens when you leave that job? What if that company closes? What if you get out of the military? You still need life insurance, right? So, what I tell people is don't cut your life insurance off from your company. Get an IUL on the backside so that at some point when you decide to leave that company, you're still covered up to the age of 121. And this is where it's an advantage for young people to get the IUL because essentially it allows them to get locked in at a really good health rating. So if you get locked in at a good health rating at 18, 20, 25, and you live to 100 years old, the amount of insurance will never change. Okay. You'll still have that amount. Another thing about the IUL is when you do pass, because we're all going to pass away, right? When you do pass, you actually have a tax free death benefit that you're able to pass on to your heirs. How about that? I don't know about you, but most people in my family that passed away, I didn't get anything, maybe a bill or something from them, right? But I didn't get any money. So when we talk about, the Rockefellers and the JP Morgan Chase family, these families that have built and been pillars of the United States for centuries, they essentially understood how money worked and they would put their money into what we call a trust so that money was passed on. So let's keep pushing forward. Another part of the IUL that a lot of people don't realize is you have living benefits. Now, the stuff that we get pushed most of the time, term insurance, whole life, those are what I call death insurance, not life insurance, because you have to die in order for some to be able to access those funds, right? Well, with an IUL, you actually have what they call living benefits. That means if you have a heart attack, stroke, cancer, any of those things happen, you get access to 90% of your death benefit in your living years. So let me give you a scenario. Let's say, for instance, you got $1 million policy on yourself. You know, God forbid you get cancer. You can't go to work when you got cancer, right? You can't focus on your job. So you're able to walk away or leave your job for a time frame and still get paid, right? So you'll be able to tap into your death benefit up to $900,000. Okay. Now, say for instance, you have cancer, God blesses you, you go through remission 5 years later. Hey, I haven't used up my entire 900,000. I cut that money off, and that remains as the death benefit going forward for me and my family. The last piece here is it has a kicker on it, a rider rather than a kicker that we call Everest, right? The name of the company is Everest. And essentially, if you've ever been married, you probably had a wedding planner and someone helped you with all of those things, right? Very stressful day. So imagine when you pass away, how stressful it's going to be for the people in your family that need to take care of buying the casket and figuring out the headstone and even where you want to be buried. So Everest takes care of that. They have a 24/7 concierge service that is simply, one of the kids, your wife, whoever calls, hey, Cal passed away. These are his wishes. You already have those. And, they'll take care of it from there. Another cool thing about Everest is they have a 48-hour quick pay where they'll actually pay out a portion of your death benefit. That way we don't have to go, doing these GoFundMe's and crap like that, right? We go fund ourselves. Okay. So again, that's the financial pocket knife left side, the protection side of the IUL. Now let's get to the right side. This is the sexy side. This is the part I really like talking about. So the first thing about the IUL when it comes to savings is it's based on a market index. I teach people how to trade stocks, stock options, invest, create portfolios, all of those things. And so if you look at the stock market over the last 80 years, you'll see that on average, it gains about 10 to 12% per year. Now, if you have a 401k, that's great. But every time the market goes negative, you actually lose money. Now, in a IUL, because you're indexed, remember the I in IUL stands for index, you're indexed with the same indice that most people are invested in with their 401k or IRA. But instead of you losing money, you have a floor of zero. So that means your money never loses again. I'll say it again. You never lose money again. This is the part when someone was teaching me about this, and I was like, yep, I'll take two of those. So, understanding how wealthy people put their money into investing, they don't watch their money do this like we do, right? Volatility. They don't want to see money going up and down. No, they have created laws, IRC 7702A. Hit pause, go back, do a Google search on it. You'll see that that's actually an IRS code, Internal Revenue Code, that says if you have an IUL, your floor is zero. You never lose money again. Come on now, we got to keep up. Next, there's a liquidity factor to the IUL. So this essentially means that as you grow, as you put more money into your IUL, it's growing. Remember, you're getting interest added on when the market's doing well, so your money's growing. Your cash reserves are actually able to be tapped. So say, for instance, you want to buy your kid a car or pay for their college or something like that, right? So they don't have to worry about debt. You can simply tap your IUL, make a call, within 48 hours, they'll move the money from the IUL into your bank account. You have liquid access to it at any time. Beautiful piece of the IUL. Next is tax advantage. So what does that mean? Because every dollar you put into an IUL is post-tax dollars, you don't actually have to pay taxes when you pull the money out. Again, referring back to IRC 7702A, when you look at that tax code, what it says is the IRS cannot tax you twice on the same dollar. So once you get paid, you move a portion of that from your checking account into your IUL, and now that money is growing tax free. Let me ask you this. Do you think taxes will be higher or lower in the future? I'll give you a second to think about it because hopefully you say it higher. Based on all of the stuff that we see going on in the world, we know taxes are probably going to be higher. So why would we put all of our money that we're supposed to live our best years off of in a position where it's going to be taxed at a higher bracket as opposed to taking what we call the discount on taxes right now, even though they're still high, right? They're going to be higher though. We take that discount on taxes now, take those dollars and start investing them now so they can grow tax free for the rest of the time. And then last is creditor protected. I often joke with people about Donald Trump. You know, he was our president. You can like him, love him, hate him, whatever. The guy is smart, right? And so whenever you see Trump get in trouble for stuff, and they say, yeah, he owes $30 million, but on paper it looks like he's broke, right? The reason why is because he puts most of his money in assets like Mar-a-Lago and golf courses and hotels, right? But he also has IULs as well. So on paper, it doesn't look like he has much money, but we all know the guy's a billionaire, right? But because his money is in an IUL, it's creditor protected, meaning that no one can touch it regardless. Okay. And that's the legal way we're able to hide some of our money. So again, when we look at the financial pocket knife, we want to know how these things work, right? And so that's what this whole presentation was about, educating our people on what really exists. Because a lot of times we just think that, because we don't know, that it's not real. Not the truth, though. As I land this plane for the day, I want you to look at something. I want you to compare the 5 different types of financial accounts. So again, most of us know about bank accounts. We know about 401ks or IRAs, right? And some of us who trade stocks and do different things like that have brokerage accounts. Well, when you look at the 8 things that you want every account that your money is in to do, not a whole lot of check boxes there, right? When we talk about growth potential, 6 to 12%, bank accounts don't do that. I showed you it was less than 1%, right? You get to lock in your gains. No risk of market loss, easy access. That's that liquidity factor I was telling you about. Enhanced legacy, meaning that you can pass this on. You can't pass a 401k on. Most people don't even realize that, right? If you pass away while you're still working for that company, they technically own the 401k. They may pay you a death benefit, but that 401k is theirs. You have to retire, get access to that 401k in order to be able to pass it on, right? Living benefits. I don't know if you can call Chase and say, hey, I have a checking account with you guys. I got hurt, but I need some money. They're going to be like, doo, doo, doo. Tax-free distribution. Again, most things aren't post-tax dollars. And so there's always going to be an extra tax on those at the end. And then probate avoidance. We've talked to many, many clients that have gone through probate, and the stories are, terrible. You're talking about 2 and 3 years to actually get access to, your mother's bank accounts and the house and all of this infighting that goes on in the family, right? As an African American, we know whenever somebody passes away, it's always one uncle that think he, deserves everything, right? And so we can avoid these kind of confrontations on the back end if we put our money in a status where it goes into a trust, it's earmarked, and we know what's going to happen with those dollars once the person passes away. But when you look at what we offer, the IUL is what I've been talking about mostly today, but we also have access to what they call fixed index annuities, FIAs. And so depending on where that money is coming from, we can actually roll, say, an old 401k over into a fixed index annuity and actually help the person, one, get that money, get a bonus on that money for moving it over, but then set up an IUL on the back end so we can take those tax dollars and move them to non-tax dollars. Okay. So reach out to us. We'll explain how that whole thing works. But again, I want to thank you all for, joining me today and hearing about the IUL. At this point, I'll take any questions from the audience there, but I really want you all to set up appointments, and then that way we can go through and look specifically at what works best for you. One thing I didn't mention is not everybody can qualify for the IUL, because remember, it has a life insurance portion to it. And so depending on if you have any pre-existing, issues or anything like that, but let us figure that out. We have 60 companies that we can check with to see if anybody would be willing to set you up with one of these IULs. But again, don't just discount yourself. Again, don't discount yourself. Okay. We may be able to help you. Reach out, talk to one of our advisors, and we'll take it from there. So again, I thank you for reaching out and sitting through this presentation, and I hope there's something we can do for you and help you out. Take care.